things get really crazy throughout the first kind of 5 episodes, because you really can't tell who's going to be the next one, who you could trust. And when people start being like killed off, you're like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting it to be this person, or this is the direction that they went. Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of You Season 4, Part 1. My name is Daniel. I am one of your hosts today, and joining alongside me today are my fellow suspects. Who did it? Could it have been Anthony
Hello and no, or maybe.
or Shahbaz?
It was me. I did it.
Oh, you spoiled the mystery though, Shay. We still have like 20 minutes of the episode left to talk about
Yeah,
this.
but I think it's easier this way because that way, I think a lot of crime shows and crime movies, they take too long to get to who did it. Like, just tell me who did it from the beginning and then let me see what happened.
Tell me who done it. You know what I mean?
Tell me who done it from the beginning, And you right now do kind of look like
that.
you do kind of look like you're almost like a detective, or you're kind of like Joe, because Joe always does wear a hat. But that's a very obvious hat though. Like, you'd stand out in any crowd.
Joe does not wear this hat. You're right. No, I did wear this hat for a couple reasons, because we are, for myself, and I know for us, we are huge Nintendo fans here, and we are a Nintendo Direct watch. So I'm hoping by the time this review goes live, we would have either had a Nintendo Direct happen or one is announced, and I'm very excited. So I'm just trying to prepare. I'm manifesting it, or I'm covering my very messy hair. Who knows which one is the truth?
That's the mystery.
Most likely the second one.
That's the mystery today.
Please let there be a Nintendo Direct, and if there is, obviously we'll talk about it later down the road. But yeah, this has been a long time coming. We've been wanting to talk about the show for a while, and it's kind of crazy that we're heading into season 4, because guess what? A lot of Netflix shows don't really make it to season 4. So the fact that we're here, that's pretty special. But of course, this is the movie podcast. You can catch a brand new episode every single Monday, and watch out throughout the week for our reviews and interviews on all the latest movies and series. We have lots of incredible reviews coming your way, including our review for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. We also have some interviews happening for that too, so stay tuned for all of that and more. And of course, check out all the incredible interviews and reviews that are out on the page already. Now, we do have a great partnership going on. This episode of the movie podcast is brought to you in part by our friends at Manscaped. You will notice the three of us looking very well-groomed, very beautiful, sporting our facial hair, and things that you cannot see in this camera are also very well-groomed, so don't worry about that. But of course, we want to give you 20% off and free shipping, courtesy of our friends at Manscaped. Use promo code MoviePod now. Show notes below has all the information you need and more. Shay, can you tell me a little bit about why you love Manscaped so much?
Look, as a man of the beard, as we all are men of the beard, one of the things that's always kind of troubled us, or at least, I guess, put a barrier up, is how long it takes to trim our beard down, and also the accuracy of it all. So using the beard hedger, it has been a bit of a game changer in my opinion, because I've never had to go so quick to shave myself down, and I love that. I love how fast it is, even for the bits down there, for your pots in the nether regions.
The bits below, yes.
The bits below. Sounds like an album, like from 2006.
It does. Bits below.
Yeah. That area also super fast. I think the skin safe technology, all that kind of stuff, has immediately made my life a lot easier. And I'm telling you this as a complete skeptic and a non-believer before. I now believe, and that's not a line. I'm being honest with you. I now believe. I get it. I'm like, okay, I get why this is what it is. And I can't just use any old razor or machine that I was before. This is specific and it makes sense, man.
Shay's been like the number one fan.
Look at that face. Yeah. Look at that face.
I'm a bit of a hairy guy. I'm sorry. Like I got hair in places, so I gotta make sure that my hair is taken care.
There you go. And you know who has some great hair in you? Joe. I mean, Penn Badgley has some incredible facial hair this season. And he has a flow of hair happening too. We're going to talk about that very soon. But I do also remind you, please make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. Check out our show notes below for all of those links and more. We're at The Movie Podcast. We are everywhere at that name. You could find us. Also on youtube.com/The Movie Podcast. Anthony's been making some great videos on YouTube. You may notice that, this is probably a multicam edit, so it's probably on my face right now. And then if Anthony starts talking, it's it's going to cut to him, and then Shay starts talking, it's going to cut to him. If you're listening to this in your car right now, that doesn't mean anything to you because nothing's happening.
We should do
But if you're
multi-audio
watching this
edits
on
now.
YouTube, multi-audio
Like
edits,
left
we'll
channel
just
is
pan.
you, right channel is
Yeah.
me, back channel is Anthony.
Yeah, we'll do like a Dolby Atmos edit.
Yeah.
So we could you have to go to a theater to get the full experience of the movie podcast.
So much
Partnering
work.
with IMAX.
It's so much work.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, but listen, we want to bring it to you. We want to make this happen for you. So if you want to make this happen for us, please, buy some Manscaped products, use our promo code, it will help us out a lot. Anyways, let's get over to you. Season 4, part 1. Of course, this is the first 5 episodes of the season. Netflix is really starting to do this breaking up of the season. So we're getting the first 5 episodes on February 9th. And then fast forward to March 9th, we'll have the final 5 episodes of season 4. Now we're going to be talking, obviously, if there is spoilers, we're going to get into. I mean, the show is out as the time of you're listening to this and watching it, so there will be some spoilers, so look out for that. But other than that, Anthony, please take us away with the synopsis for You, Season 4, Part 1.
After his previous life went up in flames, Joel Goldberg has fled to Europe to escape his messy past, adopt a new identity, and of course, to pursue true love. But Joe soon finds himself in the strange new role of reluctant detective as he discovers he may not be the only killer in London. Now his future depends on identifying and stopping whoever is targeting his new friend group of uber wealthy socialites.
Thank you very much for that. And like I said, of course, You Season 4 Part 1 is out today on Netflix. I want to say thank you to our friends at Netflix Canada for making this happen for us, for providing us with the screener so we can get this review out to you on day 1, minute 1. It's available now. Shay, take us away with your first reactions to the season.
You Season 4 Part 1 has given the show a very necessary pivot. And I think that because, when you start getting into the, later seasons of a premise that maybe doesn't need to last or stay its welcome for this long, how do you kind of reinvent it? How do you change up the wheelhouse a little bit? You make it a murder mystery. And I didn't expect that. I didn't think they'd go down this route, considering when you look at the previous seasons, season 1 obviously sets it all up. It kind of lets you know it's much, much smaller scaled. Season 2 really expands on that, and it's probably my least favorite season. Season 3, I absolutely loved. I love that husband and wife dynamic that they kind of introduced of these two people that are absolutely insane, who are just the most wild people in the world. And I really enjoyed that. And I kept wondering, okay, where are they going to take it to season 4? Because I feel like, gas is going to have to run out at a certain point. But season 4, I like that. I like what they did. They made it a murder mystery. They have Joe at the center of it. You have a murderer. You have someone who kills and does it so well, trying to solve a murder.
So well, eh? He does it so
He
well. You
does
want to
it-
commend him on his murdering,
I
eh?
think if I gave him an award for best murderer, he'd be one of those guys. He's just really
He's very
good.
efficient. You're right.
He's very
very
efficient.
efficient. Yeah.
He knows the ins and outs, and also it helps that he's super book smart, so he knows that. But on top of that, Penn Badgley is just such a charming fellow. I'm not too familiar with his work, but I do know of him. I haven't really seen Gossip Girl, but watching You, I get it. I'm like, this guy he's really handsome, especially in this season with the rugged beard, long hair. It really, really works for him. But overall, the way he speaks, his cadence, the words he uses, it's very charming and very alluring, and I totally understand why women fall in love with him. He's, it's very understandable. And then introducing these new characters, introducing this new world, moving him outside of America into Europe, introduces almost like a fish out of water scenario as well, which you're having a lot of different things kind of thrown at it this season. So that really worked for me. The things that didn't really work for me are, I think, his friends. And I get that in this show, they're supposed to be unlikable. And I totally understand that because they're super wealthy. They're horrible people. They don't give a shit about anybody else. And I totally understand that. But I don't think they left a lasting impression for me. So as they were being offed one by one, I never really felt anything. I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, they're dead. No big deal. Until it really starts to get closer and closer to Joe, it never really phases me. And then we start seeing the love triangles happen and the intensity of all that. So that stuff I definitely enjoyed, but it was his friends, his group of friends that I wasn't completely in love with.
Doesn't it say much about like what the type of genre they're going for, because it is a murder mystery, and then you don't want to get too attached to these characters. And eventually, it seems like they're being picked off one by one, very similar to Clue. Like,
You're
why
right.
get so attached to them or write them in? They're written in such a way that you hate them.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't really care about you. There are a couple of characters that you kind of like stick to, or you want to see what happens to them.
Hmm.
But the remaining characters that are part of this big group of uber rich socialites, yeah, you're right. They don't really have a lasting appeal, but I think that's written intentionally.
I agree. I do think it is written intentionally.
Yeah.
Yes, I do agree. And I think maybe it shouldn't be a weak spot, but I think for me, just when you have the previous season where I enjoyed everybody, I enjoyed Scott Speedman and all the other characters I were introduced to, I wish that had the same effect on this season for me.
I'm right there with you, Shay, because I think the cast in the season. Well, I mean, let me start with Penn Badgley. Actually, like he's always the bright spot in this entire series. I mean, you don't go 4 seasons of a Netflix series if your main character isn't a likable person, and he's doing despicable things, but he's so charming, so you cannot help but want to see what he does next, right? And this is, and full disclosure for myself, I watched the series for the first time leading up to this review. So I watched season 1 to 3, starting in December, leading up to, reviewing season 4, part 1 now. So I've been kind of spending a lot of time with his character, and he's always the most likable one or the most interesting one. And I think going into season 4, I was starting to feel a little burnt out on the kind of, I guess, the layout of the show, just like the format of like, okay, this just feels like we're always going to be like playing this kind of same cat and mouse game. And I think season 4 really changes up that dynamic, like Shay said, that it gives the show, kind of a boost of like, you know what, this feels like a different show. Like this just feels like a murder mystery show that you kind of dropped Joe into. And I was liking that a lot. Yeah, the cast are they're all rich. They all are playing like this different kind of variant of like a spoiled rich kid, and things get really crazy throughout the first kind of 5 episodes because you really can't tell who's going to be the next one, who you could trust. And when people start being like killed off, you're like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting it to be this person, or this is the direction that they went. Um, and that's been really fun. And I really liked watching Charlotte Ritchie, who plays Kate this season with Penn Badgley. I think they play really well together, and where their relationship kind of starts and where it ends at the end of the 5th episode is a really interesting one too. So I'm excited to explore to see where this connection between them goes. But yeah, I'm really much enjoying this season. I think what they learned a lot with this season too is that Anthony and I, we spoke about this before, is that you would feel like an episode of You would end, and then it would go on, like the episode feels like it's ending, and then it's like, oh, there's still like 2 or 3 more scenes, there's still an extra 10 minutes, where these episodes feel a lot more tighter, where it's like, okay, you know what, 38 minutes, 40-minute episodes, we're telling our story and it's ending where it feels like it should end. It's getting those great cut to black moments, which I think seasons 1, 2, and 3 really kind of, it had some of them, but each episode in this new season was like, okay, let me play the next one. Let me play the next one. And I think this is where the binge model really makes sense, because when you have an episode that ends on that much of a cliffhanger, you want to dive in immediately after. And each episode in this season was like, okay, damn it, let me get into the next one. I want to start this next one.
Support for the movie podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who have trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code MoviePod at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 14 million balls.
You know what I didn't know I needed, but I needed is an LED light on my shaver.
Oh my God.
Like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
there is darkness, especially around that area. It works so well. You can really pinpoint all the hairs, and you're like, okay, I got this point, because hair kind of like starts to mesh, and you really don't see it properly. But with this LED light, it's super bright, and you can get everything precision cut.
It's a 4000K LED spotlight. So you are literally putting a spotlight to your genitals down there to make sure you're treating them as you should.
The skin safe proprietary technology that they use for the lawnmower is really good. Like I was always a little hesitant going down there, and then I felt safe. I felt like there was protection there.
Manscaped just makes it so easy to choose a tool, whatever you're using, be it the beard trimmer, the lawnmower, the weed whacker, and it just feels like there is like this accessibility to it that I absolutely love.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code MoviePod at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code MoviePod. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job at Manscaped.
Your balls will thank you.
Your balls will thank you.
Your balls will thank you.
Joe for me is he's an annoying character. And I think the last season, even though I really liked that season because it was like Love was such a dynamic to his character, but Joe himself is actually really, really annoying from episode 1 from season 1 to episode 3, or sorry, season 3 of the last episode. He's just annoying. He's so obsessive, and he's just this obsessiveness just gets really old and it gets tiring, and you just want to kind of like, fuck, I don't want to watch this anymore. He just obsesses over the same thing. So season 4 being less obsessive, which is great, and actually having this cat and mouse where he's now being stalked and now he's kind of trying to figure out who's playing him is so much better. And I think this is kind of like where you can rejuvenate a series rather than continuing with the same tropes of the previous seasons. There is, an obsession with Kate being, this person that he's kind of targeted, but it's not like he really wants to be with her. I think it's actually maybe falling in love with someone naturally. But there's also Marianne who's around, and I don't know where she plays and how she fits into this whole season. We do see her in a couple of seasons, a couple of episodes in the beginning. I'm truly wondering what happens to that character and where they go. But overall, I think this is such a refresher for you because it is diving down a different path. You have unlikable characters, and even though Joe's not I get how you gravitate to Joe. Joe is the most likable now than he has ever been because he is trying to solve something that is affecting him, but he's also trying to do good things. There's this weird dynamic with Joe because I don't like him because he is a bad guy, but he also portrays himself saying, "Oh, I'm a good person. I do good things, but you kill people." And I think underneath all that is a killer. Like I think he likes killing, even though he hates to admit it. And I think he hates to, like, he'll say it a couple times, "I did not like killing this person," but he ends up killing every single person that he kind of interacts with. There's so many murders under his belt that this guy does like killing people.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that's the thing, right? I think that's the thing when you're a serial killer like that, like they're not portraying him like someone like
Dahmer.
when we're watching like Dahmer
Yeah.
or like when we're watching a movie and there's like a clear villain, they're in their minds they're not the villain, right? Even though he is doing awful things. But it is, yeah. So it was nice to see Marianne again after last season. But I'm curious where her plot line is going to go because he was given the chance for a second shot at life, Joe, because he was going to be killed for obviously killing Love, and now him being in Europe, he lets Marianne kind of flee, steals her necklace, which I thought was a interesting thing. That now she's still out there, she knows he's alive. So how is this all going to play into the grander story that's being told now? Are we okay to get into full on kind of spoiler territories for what episode 5 has done? Are you guys cool with that?
I think, yeah, I just wanted to quickly touch on just Marianne really
Yeah.
quickly as well. I think I am curious to see where her story kind of goes because I wasn't too big of a fan of seeing her again because I was excited to see her, but when the show started to take a different pivot, I was like, okay, I'm okay to not see Marianne for a bit. Including her into the story is an interesting dynamic because we still don't really know what it's going to do. In part 2, the payoff might be there, so I'm going to hold off on my reservations until part 2. We watch that and see what happens there. But as of right now, Marianne's character really is just kind of a lingering reminder that this is still part of the universe, I guess you could say.
The universe.
The universe, yeah.
The universe, yeah. So yeah, it was that that kind of floating plot point. It was like, yeah, this character is still around. Don't worry, and We're going to see how this kind of ties into the larger scale, but I'm just really liking, the UK, Joe or Jonathan this season as he has adopted the identity of, Anthony, you mentioned as, throughout these first 5 episodes that yes, Joe is the one that's kind of being stalked and looked and being chased. And it's nice seeing him on the back foot, I think too, because we don't normally get to see that side of him where he feels like he's literally, playing detective. He is, our Benoit Blanc. He is our, our Perot in this, kind of messed up season so far. But when it's kind of revealed who, the one is pulling the strings as of right now, I mean, there's a lot of crazy moments this season, especially with, Joe being thrown out a window by what's his name? I'm blanking on his name right now. Oh, Rolds.
Right.
Yeah, Rold kind of throws him out a window and he's hunting him because he thinks he's the eat the rich killer. And then that kind of turns into it being revealed that, like the big kind of guy pulling the strings right now is Reese. Yeah, Reese, who is, the one who wrote the book at the beginning that we kind of see that one of
the really nice
Joe's students
the really
is
nice
reading.
guy, the one that Joe gravitated towards as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the one who, he really liked, he's like, oh, I can't hate this guy yet. And he's going to run for mayor. And, there's a little plot line that I liked in the earlier, in the early episode of the season where, Joe's student tells him, he's like, in a murder mystery, there are no coincidences, right? So like the fact that they're already planting these seeds of who this character is and what he could do. And it's, episode 5 ends with him announcing that he is going to be running for mayor. And he did have Rolled and, Joe locked up and almost killed them. It's very interesting to see. Like, I have no idea where part 2 of the season's going to go.
It's going to lead back to Marianne. Sorry, I keep saying Marianne. Just because her story is it was left empty. And there's also this I guess hitman who gave him instructions to do a specific task and he didn't do it. So I think that's going to come and bite him in the ass. So he's going to have to deal with that as well as figuring out how to take down Reese. And I don't know, like, truthfully, as long as Kate's okay, I think in Joe's eyes, maybe how he's killing these people and why he's killing these people are not great. Like, truthfully, they're just not good people. So I have conflicted. I feel like Reese is killing them because they're not good people. There was that whole discussion at the top on the rooftop about Simon not doing good deeds and cleaning himself up and making sure that he made amends for his past, and clearly Simon paid for his actions, and how he gave those drugs to that his assistant who was painting the pictures for him. It just says a lot about these groups of people. I just feel like, yeah, I wouldn't mind if they actually died, but why should Joe really target Reese, even though he tried to plant Malcolm, I guess, on him? Why should he still continue fighting him? Like, what's the reason?
I just think that he's exposed now, right? So like his identity is known. So it's just like it's either, I think Joe's in that spot where it's like, okay, kill or be killed now. Right. So I don't know. And that's the thing where it's like there's so many tangled webs in this season so quickly already. And you have like a really kind of big villain at the top of this now. You have someone who's running for mayor of the city of London, who has a lot of public support, all the money in the world. If this show doesn't make you hate the super rich, nothing else will, because you're gonna hate all the rich characters in the show. But I'm really curious. I don't know where the outcome is going to go, and I think that's a benefit to the show. It's making me come back every episode. Like every episode this season so far, I'm like, oh, play one more. So I'm hoping that part 2 maintains that energy and there's a good payoff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do like that they've learned their lessons. They've kind of come at this thinking, okay, we've had some successful seasons, some unsuccessful seasons. Like, where's everybody at with this show? And luckily, this season right now, or the first part of the season at least, is doing a great job.
I still think Love is alive. I don't think she's dead.
Really?
I don't think she's dead.
All right.
I'm curious, because
she was too good of a character.
Yeah,
she
was.
And
Victoria
I don't know.
Pedretti is amazing. She's phenomenal.
I just think, like, sure, she could have died in the house and exploded
In
with
the
it
fire
in
with
the
the
fire.
injection, yes, while being paralyzed, yes.
But I think she's the one who's watching
Pulling the
Joe from it,
strings.
pulling the string. Maybe I don't know. That's a weird conspiracy. I don't know much about what's happened behind it. I don't know if she was actually on set or anything like that. But I would love to see her back because I think her character was so unique. And I fucking hate Joe though. Like he's just like, oh, he loves her so much, and then he's like, no, she wasn't the one because she was killing people. I'm like, but you were killing people.
Right.
You literally killed someone in the first season of you. You killed that poor innocent girl, like literally, and you're giving shit to her. Um, I get it. She was killing everyone in town though. That's a big no no.
A little
Um,
different. A little
but yeah,
different for sure.
I wonder where Kate will be part of, how
Yep.
her character will deal with it, because she puts up a front of being this like bitch, and she hates everything, and she doesn't like Joe. There's this like really stern, and it's so opposite of who Joe's attracted to. So I'm
Right.
wondering when she finds out what Joe's done, which she will. What's her reaction? What's she gonna? Because she seems like someone who would like fight him because of just her demeanor and her strong presence.
And I think he likes that, right? Like he even said, like, he's impressed by her. And that in that first or second episode, she even says, like, you probably think I'm a bitch, but I prefer that. I prefer that you did.
Yeah.
Right. And but then she starts opening up to him, and it's like, yeah, well, my dad's this person, and he literally could get the devil off trial if possible, basically, right? With everything that she said that her dad's done with the kids and the cancer. Like it's gets crazy, and it's true, because there are people like that in the world that can do these type of things. And when you have all the money in the world, you could do whatever you want, right? But it's a really interesting dynamic that we have set up right now. And I think where part one ends is going to really lead to probably like the biggest kind of finale that we've ever seen so far on the show.
Stranger
Any
Things
final
caliber.
thoughts? Yeah, Stranger Things 11 is going to show up as well too, and and fight the Upside Down. Any final thoughts before we wrap up today's review of You Season 4 Part 1? It looks like we are all good to go. Of course, this season of You is available right now on Netflix. Part 1, episodes 1 to 5. You could watch all on Netflix right now. And then on March 9th, the second half of the season will drop with the final 5 episodes, and we'll be back with our thoughts. There is so much to look forward to here on the Movie Podcast. We have our Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania review. We have lots of amazing interviews coming your way, so stay tuned for all of that and more. And of course, I want to say thank you to our friends at Manscaped for sponsoring today's episode. Check out our show notes below to see how you could get 20% off and free shipping off your next order. And of course, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at the Movie Podcast. Follow us on YouTube, join our Discord, and if you're looking forward to You, let's talk about it in our Discord. The conversations of this episode may end, but they can continue on in Discord, so make sure you join us there. And of course, that was this time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.